you don't have to convince them that you're worth it. You have to convince yourself that you deserve the love that they're giving you or the success that you have achieved. Everybody else already believes it. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sum of Everything podcast, where we discuss a little bit of a lot of topics. I'm Aishwarya, your host, and I am so glad to be back for a second straight week after a really, really long hiatus. If you caught the last episode, it was about how I overcame a creative slump, and I had such a brilliant time shooting that, even though I was a nervous wreck and still am. But we got to power through, right? So that's what we're going to do. If you aren't watching on YouTube, I would highly recommend watching on YouTube instead of listening on a podcast platform. And if you are watching on YouTube, then please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I would really, really appreciate that. Coming to today's episode, it is an emotion that I am very closely acquainted with, more so in the recent years. And I am sure most people listening to this have felt this as well. So I hope that this episode is going to be as relatable as possible. So we are going to be talking about imposter syndrome. Let me tell you a story. If you are acquainted with me or you are close to my parents, sometime in the last couple of months, you would have heard that I received a certain recognition. I was named one of the top 40 innovative legal leaders by a law firm called Photon Legal. And it came after a rigorous interview process and selection process. And once the 40 people were selected, our pictures were displayed on the New York Times Square billboard. Now, this is huge, right? It's so far the biggest achievement I have had. And I was very excited for it right off the bat when I heard that our pictures are going to be shown on the billboard in New York's Times Square. I mean, what bigger stage is there, right? Now, me in all my naivety thought that this was an India thing. Like, I thought people were being selected from a pool of Indians. I later come to know that the pool is much larger, that it's actually international, and the other 39 people who were part of this group were people that I have actually looked up to. There were people like Ron Klein, who is the head of legal of Airbnb, and there was a bunch of other people that I would never have dreamed to be standing shoulder to shoulder with. But to be given an opportunity and be recognized for my contributions to my field, IPR and tech law in-house, it was, I can't even say it was a dream come true because I hadn't dreamt of it, right? It wasn't something that I had ever conceived of that could happen. But it did. And when I found out the other 39 people, I was in shock because firstly, I was like, oh my God, this is international. It's not just Indian. And secondly, I was like, oh my, who are these other people that I am being put on par with? Once I had that realization, once I saw who the other people were, my mind kind of just shut down because every time someone congratulated me, I felt like, do I really deserve to be here? Have I contributed enough to have been made a part of this or be recognized as one of the top 40 innovative legal leaders? I didn't believe that at all. And so that's what gave me the idea for this episode because I was suffering from imposter syndrome of the highest order. So, what is imposter syndrome, right? If you've not heard about it before, although imposter syndrome is a term that's thrown around very lightly by a lot of people. But if you haven't heard about it yet, imposter syndrome is this feeling that an achievement of yours or a success of yours is not because of the effort or the hard work that you've put into it, but it is because of sheer dumb luck and or being at the right place at the right time. And a lot of times people who are going through an imposter syndrome will feel like they don't deserve the success, or they don't deserve the accolades or the fame or the compliments that are coming their way. And they very often feel like they're a fraud. And you'd think that this would be something that people like you and me go through, right? Some of the most notable names in modern and not so modern history have admitted to having imposter syndrome. Um, for example, Michelle Obama talks about still feeling like having imposter syndrome in her book Becoming. Brilliant book, by the way, highly recommended. Other people who've talked about it are Tom Hanks. I mean, we all know what a brilliant actor he is, and he has talked about feeling like he's taking everyone for a ride. Emma Watson, such a brilliant actress and such a respectable lady. She has talked about having imposter syndrome. Maya Angelou, and even Albert Einstein. All of them have gone on record and talked about the fact that they sometimes don't feel like they are deserving of the achievements or the success that they have. And what's more relatable than that, right? So it all comes down to this. How do people who are without a doubt extremely accomplished or have given so much and have worked so hard to be where they are, why are they also victims of imposter syndrome? One basic thing about imposter syndrome is that you feel it when you think you don't deserve to be where you are. And you think that you don't deserve to be where you are if someone has told you that you don't deserve to be where you are. That means someone in your childhood or youth or at some point, either you have learned this through societal conditioning or someone has actually told you that the achievement that you have had or the success that you were experiencing is something that you do not deserve. Another very interesting thing is people with the highest IQs, people with highest levels of empathy, extremely smart and wise people are the ones who are most likely to feel imposter syndrome. So make of that what you will. But coming back to this, right? Like, who made you feel like you don't belong? Who made you feel like that stage isn't yours to go achieve? And this is something that I reflected on as well. I wanted to know, what is it that made me think that I don't deserve to be recognized in what I consider an elite list? I want to say that somewhere along the way, I picked up the fact that if you're really young and if you're not associated with a huge name in the industry, or maybe the work that you do, you think is not good enough or not enough to create an impact on a global scale, because you think that the work that needs to be done has to be loud, it needs to be talked about. But that's not necessary, right? There's so much happening on the back end of something that is not out there in the public eye, in the public domain for everybody to see. So that was one of the first things I kind of realized about myself, which was that my work does not have to be loud to create impact. I can do it quietly, slowly, steadily, and I still deserve to be recognized for what I am contributing. Here's another thing that I consider very interesting about imposter syndrome, right? As with any feeling, when you feel it over and over again, your brain is sort of capturing that and telling your body that, okay, if it's a negative feeling, this feeling in the body does not feel safe. That means we have to avoid this feeling at all costs. And when do you have imposter syndrome? It is when there is attention on you. So basically, it means that if you feel that you don't deserve something, that means you're subconsciously telling your brain and your body that you don't want to be seen. You don't want to be recognized. Indeed, you don't want to be acknowledged. So then what happens? Your brain is constantly sending those signals, and your subconscious brain and your amygdala, whose basic function is to keep you safe, then they're going to say, hey, let's not take any action that's going to make us feel seen. And I realized that that ended up being such an important aspect in my being unable to put myself out there, whether it was more dance videos or recording this podcast in video format, because I felt like I wasn't ready to be seen or I didn't deserve to be seen. And even though a part of me really wanted it, right? I wanted to put myself out there, but my subconscious wasn't letting me because it was like, hey, we need to be safe. So my subconscious didn't want it, even though my conscious did. And that's a very fundamental difference in manifestation. Because if your subconscious mind and your body does not feel like it is ready to receive whatever it is that you feel like you want to manifest, then it's not going to happen. So I tried to figure out how I could work through this. Now, of course, there are many ways to deal with imposter syndrome. And if you were to Google it and read scholarly articles on it, maybe you'll find something worth your while. But here's how I did it. Now, there's a technique in meditation, manifesting meditation, that is to do with grounding. So whenever I felt like I wasn't good enough, or when I received a compliment where I felt really awkward about it, I would catch myself in the act of saying, I don't feel like this is me. And a lot of times your brain isn't even making those words, right? It's just a feeling in your body like, I want to contract myself because this act of receiving the compliment doesn't feel so good to me. It feels like I don't deserve it, right? So firstly, I caught myself in the act of doing that, and I started rewiring my brain every time somebody complimented me or congratulated me on that achievement. And I said, thank you. I receive it. I actually started receiving the compliment and said, and telling myself that I deserve this. I did it. Secondly, there is another technique, which is grounding, which is every time I felt like I needed positive reinforcements of what I wanted to train my body or my subconscious mind to do, I would feel that and touch a part of my body, ears, hair, whatever, right? Sometimes chest, saying, I deserve to be seen. I deserve it. I did it. I deserve it. I deserve the compliments. I deserve the recognition. I put in the effort, so I deserve it. I can't tell you how strong it is. It's the feeling being grounded in physical, tangible reality. So what ends up happening is that after that, every time you touch that part of the body, even if it's like a click or I don't know, like a clap, anything that is tangible, right? You make it grounded in the physical reality. Every other time that action is repeated, it's a reinforcement to your brain about the positive messaging that you're trying to feed it, which is, suppose my clicking is my positive physical tangible reinforcement. Every time I click, it's sending a signal to my brain that's saying, hey, I deserve to be seen. And I can tell you that it works incredibly well because I did this in another area of my life, and I have talked about this before. So I grew up as a dark, short, plump girl in the late 90s and early 2000s, where the beauty standard was skinny, tall, fair, and size 0, right? So, and representation really matters. And this is how I know I grew up with a bunch of insecurities about my body. So, as an adult, if somebody ever complimented me and said I looked good, I looked hot, I looked, beautiful, I had a hard time believing that. I had a really hard time believing that. And what I ended up doing was I wanted to love myself. I didn't want to look at myself in the mirror and feel hatred for the body that I was seeing or the face that I was seeing. So, and I've talked about this in my previous episode titled Self Love. But I started doing positive reinforcements where I would look at myself in the mirror and compliment myself, exaggerate the compliments. But I would look straight into the eye in the mirror and say, hey, you look so beautiful today. You look gorgeous. And I kept doing it until I started believing it myself. It worked. That's all I can say. It worked. Because today, when I look at myself in the mirror, the first things I see is the positive aspects of how I look. I love my hair. I love my eyes, whatever, right? It is only after I have first complimented myself that I then look at, okay, do I need to lose some weight? Am I feeling bloated? Do I need to lose some belly fat and whatever else? Lifelong insecurities or childhood traumas are a little harder to get rid of. But I would like to say where I was originally, or where I started off with 90% self-hate and 10% self-love, I'm at a 80% self-love and 20% can improve situation in relationship to myself. And I think that's a huge win. Imagine walking around in the world not caring what people think of you because you are in love with yourself. And that's what happened. And that's what the power of physical, tangible reinforcement is. Anyway, the point is, do the physical reinforcement. It works. I promise you. Because your achievement is being seen by others and they're coming and complimenting you. That means they already believe you. You don't have to convince them that you're worth it. You have to convince yourself that you deserve the love that they're giving you or the success that you have achieved. Everybody else already believes it. I hope you liked today's episode. And if you did, please don't forget to like and comment and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Would really, really appreciate that. Please share it with people you think would benefit from hearing what I have to say. And please do follow our Instagram page. It's Some of Everything. I will link it in the show notes below. But this is all for this week, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.